Hello, and thanks for joining us for this edition of the Newsfeed. I'm Cameron Booza. To the surprise of many, Virginia Tech announced that they will increase their meal plan prices for the next school year. Wage increases for students working in dining services has impacted how the meal plan will be charged. First-year students will still be required to purchase the meal plan. Newsfeed reporter Rory Ayler has more on this change.
Virginia Tech Board of Advisors has approved a resolution to increase student meal plan costs for the spring semester. The increase in price will range from $100 to $215 depending on the size of the meal plan. The price increase was necessitated through the workplace shortage that has resulted in the university raising wages. Director of News and Information for Virginia Tech, Mike Ozarski, explains further as to why the increase needed to happen.
So when the increase in wages was evident, dining services was operating in a deficit. And by law, we can't do that. And so the thing is the need to increase the board rates for the spring term between $100 and $200, depending on your meal plan.
The wage increase is from $15 per hour to $15.25 per hour. The higher student wages is expected to benefit approximately 1,600 Virginia Tech student wage workers. Virginia Tech student Drew Clobert understands the price increase and hope it allows for more student engagement.
They're doing it for the right reason. If no one's going to work and then they're going to try to reward the ones that are actually working, then we like the fact that they're increasing the pay for those people. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's actually going to make people not buy the meal plan.
The increase in meal plan prices does not affect the financial aid policies that are already in place for dining services. Students who have a hard time affording dining can still apply through the Office of Scholarship and Financial Aid. Reporting for the Newsfeed, this is Rory Ayler.
Virginia Tech students are not the only ones facing dining challenges. As we enter into November, the Blacksburg Interfaith Food Pantry is experiencing their busiest month of the year. With the holiday season approaching, what does the food pantry have in place to help those in need, and are they experiencing supply shortages? I got the chance to speak with Sandy Hagman, chair of the advisory board, to find out more. The Blacksburg Interfaith Food Pantry is ran entirely by volunteers to meet the needs of the community by providing food through cash and food donations. The food pantry is set up as a grocery store with aisles of food and bulk storage in the back. People are only allowed to come to the food pantry once a month, and the amount of items they can purchase depends on how many people are in their family. Besides cash and food donations, Sandy Hagman from the Interfaith Food Pantry states that they can also get some amounts of food elsewhere.
We work with Feeding America, and through Feeding America, we have relationships with Kroger and Food Lion here in town. Also, a bread distributor called Bimbo Bakeries, so we have relationships with them as well. And what we get each week are some of the things that they no longer can sell that are at either just on the brink of expiring and so forth. Because some food for the pantry comes through other organizations and from grocery stores, the food pantry has experienced shortages like much of the country. We've experienced it, not terribly bad yet, but there are certain shortages from time to time, and we had that all through COVID. It's not new right this minute. It's been happening for the last couple of years for the supply chain and with COVID going on. For instance, right now we're kind of low on spaghetti noodles specifically. We're having trouble or spaghetti sauce.
With the Thanksgiving holiday quickly approaching, Blacksburg Interfaith Food Pantry helps provide extra assistance to those families in need.
We have some red bags. That is additional food. And so what we did was we asked different churches and organizations to collect. For instance, our local Rotary Club collected 1,000 cans of green beans for us so that we could put extra cans of green beans in each of the bags. One church gave 250 cans of cream of mushroom soup, so we have the green beans, the mushroom soup, and we purchased the dried onions so you can make that famous green bean casserole.
This bag of extras created by the Blacksburg Interfaith Food Pantry allows families to have additional food for the holidays. As the COVID-19 vaccine becomes available to everyone, President Biden recently announced a more strict vaccine mandate for certain businesses and state and local governments. Newsfeed reporter Jonas Buckberg joins us live with more.
Larger-sized private businesses are now being required to get vaccinated by the start of next year. Blacksburg has the same guidelines for government employees as well. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, has recently released guidelines stating that private businesses with over 100 employees must be fully vaccinated or produce a weekly negative test by January 4th. Virginia has its own occupational safety plan that is approved by OSHA, in which state and local government employees must also follow these same guidelines. The Blacksburg government was already discussing having its own vaccine mandate for town employees before the OSHA decision.
We were talking about what to do late in the summer, early fall, and then when we heard that the federal government was going to come up with one, we wanted to wait. We wanted to kind of have the OSHA standards, so we kind of put it off and waited until these came out.
Government employees are vaccinated and putting together its own guidelines for them to follow. They hope to have the policy completed by some point in December. We should continue to get more updates from the town as we get closer to the end of the year. Back to you, Cameron.
Thanks, Jonas. Just ahead on the news feed, see how local crafters are turning their hobbies into profits, and hear how event organizers at Virginia Tech are responding after the recent tragedies at the Astroworld Festival in Houston. That story and more after this break. Welcome back to the news feed. I'm Cameron Booza. In light of the recent events at Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival in Houston, Texas earlier this month, event planners and security personnel at Virginia Tech are taking a step back to evaluate event safety. An on-campus concert was canceled earlier this semester because of safety concerns. Decisions and preparedness for events attracting large crowds may look different moving forward. Newsfeed reporter Camden Osborne has more.
There's always additional factors that when you're doing events that you can't control. So like the crowd being one of those unknown things.
Assistant Director for Student Programming, Lamar Walker, says that much goes into the event planning process, but the crowd is always a variable.
To a certain extent, we can put in crowd control measures, but depending on the size of the crowd and the energy that day, it could not go the way that we plan.
At Virginia Tech, any audience of 300 or more warrants security presence. The type of event, seating arrangements, and location are just some factors that determine the personnel.
I refer to it as kind of setting the mark up front. So we always want to make sure that we're doing that. And then I think it gives that feel of safety. People feel safe because we're helping manage it. It's not just a big blob of people in the middle of a field.
Whether it be a football game, guest speaker, or concert, Lieutenant Tom Gallimore says that security will always be outnumbered. Venue capacity, accessible entrances and exits, first aid and emergency plans are other factors set in advance for large crowd events. Walker says mitigating risk is the largest piece of the puzzle.
And what measures can we put into place to be able to make sure that we are doing our best, knowing that with any event, no matter the size of the crowd, there's always going to be some risk involved. And so how do we minimize that risk to the lowest amount possible?
Being proactive when planning can only go so far. Both Walker and Gallimore depend on the crowd to do their part to keep events safe.
A lot of things go unmissed, and we need the community to help us with that. So it's those folks that can be, the word I love to use is ambassadors. How do you help us out by saying that behavior is not permitted, that behavior is not acceptable, what you're doing is not good? So if we can get more and more people that are along those lines that will police amongst the group, I think a lot of these would be a lot more successful.
Reporting for the Newsfeed, I'm Camden Osborne.
Local craft fairs and markets are just some of the different opportunities for local artists and vendors to showcase their work. These become even more common around the holiday season. With technology on the rise, there are other ways these artists are getting exposure. One way local artists receive exposure is through craft fairs. This is an opportunity to display their creativity through potential buyers being able to physically see their projects. Phil Arama, co-founder of Reclaimed Repurposed, Responsible Pallet Furniture is a retired Forest Service employee that has a unique restoration business.
We take the pallets apart and we reconstruct products like this chair here, and we make these Christmas trees and wine racks and furniture and things like that, and it's all from recovered wood. And then we sell it at a modest price. We're not trying to get rich.
Many other artists like Phil come to fairs to show others their hard work and dedication through their creations. It has been a challenge to do this during COVID these past few years. Many artists had to sell their project virtually. Artists are happy to be back in person to meet people face to face again. For many, this is not their only source of income, but it is something that they simply enjoy doing. That will wrap up this edition of the Newsfeed. If you have a story idea for the Newsfeed, let us know. Send us an email at thenewsfeednrv@gmail.com, and as always, you can connect with the Newsfeed on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching. I'm Cameron Booza.